Welcome to the channel of NZ Justice 111. This is episode 4 in the series, The Names of Who Corrupt New Zealand and What They Don't Want You to Know. As we go through this series, let's all remind ourselves that Senior Sergeant is still employed as a police officer and corrupt barrister Christopher Lynch is still practicing law as a partner of Lynch law firm. Without further delay, here we go. While Senior Sergeant was criminally setting up Lisa to be accused of taking money from his accounts without his knowledge, Senior Sergeant and Barrister Lynch were plotting their next move against Lisa, her mother, Lisa's family trust, and sadly the beneficiaries of that trust, who were two of Senior Sergeant's own children. The next move made against Lisa by Senior Sergeant was for him to persuade her to allow him to invest in her trust's newly purchased land, and this is how it would work. Senior Sergeant would firstly ask Christopher Lynch to establish a family trust for him. He would then sell his own home, protected by the prenup, which he knew was missing, pay off his mortgage, and give the remaining sale proceeds to his newly established trust. Senior Sergeant would then send, as an investment, the sale proceeds over to Lisa's trust to help with the building costs of the new home on the land which Lisa's family trust had just purchased. When the home was sold, Senior Sergeant's trust and Lisa's trust would receive half of the profit each. Lisa's response was no, as her trust owned the new land freehold, with Lisa's trust needing no financial assistance from Senior Sergeant to build a new home on that land. Senior Sergeant then came up with a second suggestion, and that was it would be a lot fairer if the profit share was worked out on how much each trust had financially contributed to the property. Unfortunately, Lisa trusted Senior Sergeant and fell for this. This would see him gain an unlawful avenue to be able to start stealing tens of thousands of dollars from Lisa's family trust and his own children, who were, along with their brother, Lisa's son from her previous relationship, the beneficiaries of that trust. Watch how Senior Sergeant and Christopher Lynch set Lisa up using their false claims of a proposed profit-sharing agreement. Firstly, these two corrupt individuals had meetings with Lisa, the first one being in December of 2005 at Christopher Lynch's office, where all other meetings were held. In these meetings, the financial contributions of Lisa's trust and Senior Sergeant's trust to do with this proposed profit-sharing agreement was discussed. As proof of this, here is a screenshot of a part in one of Christopher Lynch's file notes taken during a meeting where he is recording what percentage of profit each trust should get. These figures recorded by Christopher Lynch, 24% to Senior Sergeant's trust and 76% to Lisa's trust, were based on Christopher Lynch's overestimated price as to how much Senior Sergeant's home might sell for, and what sale proceeds, after Senior Sergeant had paid off his mortgage, would be able to be put towards the proposed profit-sharing agreement. Within meetings to do with this agreement, it was agreed that neither Senior Sergeant or his trust was to have any ownership rights over Lisa's trust property. As you will see later on in this video, Lisa's professional trustee, Christopher Lynch, unlawfully set it up to make sure his other client, Senior Sergeant and his trust, would most certainly have ownership rights over Lisa's trust property. While Christopher Lynch was plotting behind the backs of his fellow trustees, pregnant Lisa, her son from a previous relationship, Senior Sergeant and the couple's 2-year-old daughter moved into Senior Sergeant's home to prepare the property for sale, in keeping with the terms of the proposed profit-sharing agreement that Christopher Lynch had been instructed to prepare and complete, but never would, as you will see later on. After the family moved in to Senior Sergeant's home, Senior Sergeant, not having enough money to redecorate his house for sale, approached his bank for a short-term loan. This being the same bank Lisa's family trust bank accounts were also held at. Senior Sergeant's short-term loan was granted, with him quickly making sure this loan account was also joined to Lisa's trust internet banking facility. Just as we saw in episode 3, Senior Sergeant criminally setting up Lisa to be falsely accused of spending his $20,000 loan repayment without his knowledge by Lisa using her trust's internet banking facility, he did the same thing to Lisa regarding his loan account, and this is how he did it. He knew that Lisa held a bank card that gained points, much like flybys or air points. Knowing this, Senior Sergeant offered to allow Lisa to use her bank card to pay for the cost of doing up his home, so she was able to gain the points on her card. Each time Lisa paid for something, such as his carpets or his curtains, he would simply use Lisa's trust internet banking facility to transfer the money from his loan account into Lisa's card account. Senior Sergeant also used Lisa's trust banking facility to transfer money from his loan account to pay for some of his mortgage payments for his property. He would later go on to successfully falsely claim in court that he did not have internet banking and that Lisa had spent his loan money to the value of over $30,000 on things he knew nothing about, after she had persuaded him to allow his accounts to be joined to her trust's online banking facility. While Senior Sergeant was setting up Lisa, Christopher Lynch was creating fraudulent documents behind Lisa and her mother's back. While Christopher Lynch knew the fully signed prenup between Lisa and Senior Sergeant was missing, he was writing file notes and letters to make it falsely appear as if he had given Lisa and Senior Sergeant advice to enter into a prenup. This is what is commonly called criminal scene setting. In other words, if the existing fully signed prenup remained lost, Lynch could simply produce his fraudulent documents to support his false claims that even though he advised Lisa and Senior Sergeant to enter into a prenup, the couple never did. This false claim would then open up a legal door for Lisa's professional trustee, Lynch, to help his other client, Senior Sergeant, to defraud Lisa and her trust via a property relationship claim. Let's have a look at these fraudulent documents created by Christopher Lynch. Here is a screenshot that shows you the relevant parts in Lynch's 15th of December 2005 file note, where he is writing to a law firm colleague alleging he has given advice to Senior Sergeant and to Lisa to enter into a prenup. The legal name for the prenup has been used, that being a property relationship agreement. Notice there is no mention of the missing existing prenup already entered into by Lisa and Senior Sergeant in 2002. In this file note written to his law firm colleague, Christopher Lynch records one of the agreed terms of the profit sharing agreement, that being that Lisa's trust would own the land and building. However, Lynch goes on to say this may be difficult to encompass into a property relationship agreement. This is no surprise, as trusts do not enter into property relationship agreements, only couples do. Here are the relevant parts of another document, a letter created by Lynch on the 24th of January 2006, sent only to Senior Sergeant, where he is again making sure to mention that he has given advice to Lisa and Senior Sergeant to enter into a prenup, or contracting out agreement as he calls it, while ensuring the existing missing prenup is not mentioned. What is so devious about Lynch's letter is that he has changed the profit sharing agreement to a property sharing agreement. In other words, an agreement where Senior Sergeant gets to share ownership of Lisa's trust property. But Lynch doesn't stop there. Here is a screenshot of the relevant parts in Lynch's file note not addressed to any law firm colleague, where he is again claiming to have given Lisa and Senior Sergeant advice to enter into a prenup, with the existing prenup yet again not mentioned. The most dishonest claim Lynch records in this file note is that Lisa agreed to allow Senior Sergeant's trust and her trust to share ownership of Lisa's trust property. The documents you have just seen that were created by Lynch behind his fellow trustees' back, Lisa and her mother, were all later used in court by Lynch to support his other client, Senior Sergeant, against Lisa and her mother and Lisa's family trust. To date, all judges have turned a very convenient blind eye to the overwhelming evidence placed before them, which proves beyond any doubt, and still does, as you will see later in the series, that these documents created by Lynch record a litany of lies. We now end episode 4. Look out for episode 5, where you will see the end of Senior Sergeant and Lisa's relationship and how Senior Sergeant managed to obtain a private meeting with Lisa's trust bank, where that bank unethically disclosed a large amount of confidential and privileged information to Senior Sergeant about Lisa's family trust and its accounts. Until next time, keep safe.